Arkham Asylum, Gotham, 10:56 p.m., April 2nd, 1958. Thomas took a step back. He couldn't stop shaking. He blinked, staring at the words scrawled in blood across the window. Nazi. Dr. Ernst Richter lay like a broken doll beneath the splintered laminated glass, his blood extending downward from the impact point. The bones of his face had been crushed from the force that propelled him across his desk. A part of Thomas's mind quickly cataloged the various injuries, his medical training running at the back of his head almost with a will of its own. In addition to the numerous fractures, the temporal lacerations from the impact, as well as the laceration of the external carotid artery on the right side, had been the cause of most of the bleeding. And judging by the amount of blood spread across the desk and pooled on the floor, the artery had been severed before Dr. Richter had been thrown into the glass, while he was still alive. Thomas shivered as he backed against the filing cabinets. He was finding it hard to think. He'd been feeling bad about putting off his meeting with Dr. Richter and had decided to visit him in the research laboratory that night. Patrick Wayne's sudden death by heart attack almost 2 weeks earlier had overtaken Thomas's life. The funeral arrangements, the various incarnations and machinations of his father's convoluted will, and the demands from the estate and empire that Thomas show leadership and strength for the sake of the market and the stockholders, all of these had robbed him of the life he had chosen for himself. But this was a different kind of death that lay staining the linoleum tile. It was not the cold, quiet, imagined sleep, but a violent crimson rage and fury. He stumbled over the broken office door and back into the wrecked laboratory. The equipment and tables tossed in a jumble about the room had been his first shock on entering through the maze passage door. He had rushed to the office at once upon seeing the damaged glass, but now he was becoming more aware of his surroundings and the danger they implied. His body was still flush with adrenaline as he turned to the cell alcove on his right. The doors to all the cells were open. Their occupants had fled.
Denholm!
Thomas turned toward the gentle, chill breeze scattering the papers at his feet. The great vault doors were partially open to the long ramp rising beyond. Thomas dashed through the gap, rushing up the ramp. The outer doors were open as well, and he found himself standing on the grounds behind Arkham Asylum.
I have to find them.
And for a time, he wandered frantically in search of them. It was some time later, how long he quite suddenly could not recall, that he fell through the doors of a telephone booth. The light came on overhead as he pulled the handset off its chrome handle. His hand shook so badly coming out of his slacks pocket that he spilled dimes and nickels across the metal floor.
Good evening, Wayne residence.
Jarvis! Help, please!
Dr. Wayne? What is it, sir? May I be of assistance?
Please, Jarvis, I need you.
Where are you, sir? I can send a car at once.
No, don't send anyone. I don't want anyone to... I need you, Jarvis.
Calmly, Dr. Wayne. Tell me your location.
I don't...
Look around you. What do you see?
There's a park across the avenue and a river, and I'm on a street with brownstones. I was at Arkham, but...
Did you cross a footbridge?
Yes, I did. I think I'm on the south side of Burnley by the Riverside Parkway.
Do you see a street sign?
Jarvis, I don't know what to do.
Street sign, Doctor. Do you see one?
What? Yes.
Thomas peered through the dirty glass of the booth.
Yes, it says Cronk Street, 114th Avenue, I think.
You are to wait right there for me, Dr. Wayne. You are to leave the receiver off. You are not to call anyone. Do you understand?
Jarvis, what about...
Do you understand me, Dr. Wayne?
Yes, I understand.
I'll be there inside of 15 minutes. Do nothing until I arrive.
But I...
Nothing, you understand. Do nothing. I'm coming now.
Light from the rising moon cascaded over Thomas's shoulders from the two-story windows behind him as he sat on the grand staircase in the main foyer of the mansion. He'd managed to change out of his blood-stained shirt and slacks, his hand shaking throughout the process, and had tried to cleanse his body and his soul in a long hot shower. He felt calmer, but sleep was impossible. He wondered if it would ever be possible again. He stood up as the great front door swung wide. No detectives, no police, no condemning witnesses. It was Jarvis, alone.
Dr. Wayne, you should be in bed.
But Jarvis, what about the escaped subjects? They're loose in the city now, and Dr. Richter lying there in his own...
Everything has been taken care of, Dr. Wayne. I have taken the liberty of seeing to it personally.
Seeing to it? Personally? But Jarvis, a man is dead.
Yes, Dr. Wayne.
Jarvis pulled off his white cotton gloves with an almost casual air.
It is a tragedy, but I serve this family, Dr. Wayne, and I assure you that everything is being taken care of personally.
But Jarvis, how could you possibly...
Did your father ever tell you about my earlier profession, Dr. Wayne?
No, Jarvis. We weren't much on speaking terms.
As you are the master of Wayne Manor, and it would seem most obviously in need of my services, perhaps I might enlighten you.
Jarvis set his gloves down on the side table.
I was born in 1908 in a little village outside of London. My father was in service, although he fancied himself a bit of an actor. I trod the boards myself for a time in my youth, but proved myself a bit of an adept with a gun. I was in my late 20s when war was brought home to my beloved England, and I answered her call, Dr. Wayne. I answered most emphatically.
Jarvis, I don't see what this has to do with...
What do you know about the SOE, Dr. Wayne?
I don't think I'm familiar with it.
It was the Special Operations Executive, although the few who knew of us often referred to us as the Baker Street Irregulars after they moved us to 64 Baker Street.
Jarvis stepped to the base of the grand staircase, his eyes fixed on Thomas.
You might be more familiar with our American counterparts, the OSS.
You were a spy?
Thomas considered for a moment whether the shock of the evening's events had driven him mad. Or perhaps it was Jarvis who had gone around the bend.
That's far too broad a term, Dr. Wayne. In fact, I was trained as a medic. Our specific purpose was to conduct sabotage operations and guerrilla warfare, as well as train and support resistance units behind Nazi lines. I was part of SO2, conducting operations in Telemark, Norway, against a heavy water production plant. It was part of our training to be far past the front lines, Dr. Wayne, and it was often helpful to us while we were there to make sure we cleaned up after ourselves. Sometimes it was just better for the living if the dead were found somewhere other than where they died. Or, in most cases, not at all.
What have you done with Dr. Richter?
Thomas both dreaded and desperately needed the answer.
As I have said, Dr. Wayne, you need not concern yourself. Do not return to the laboratory. I have secured it. This incident will not be traced to you. Things will look better in the morning.
Jarvis, how can I...
Come, let me help you to bed. I have a special drink for you to help you rest.
Jarvis took Thomas's arm and turned him, guiding him back up to the second landing.
It is what I do, Dr. Wayne. I clean things up.
Arkham Asylum, Gotham, 8:31 p.m., present day. Batman carefully folded the pages of his father's stationery. They were on different paper than the pages he had discovered waiting for him in the hands of the dead Dr. Moon, and in this case appeared to start in the middle, as the first page was number 7. He had not yet read half of them, but he had read enough. He looked up from the pages to glare again at the faint stain on the glass. The word Nazi. He glanced back at the book, and then all around him. Something here was not right. He felt as if, I'm being watched. Whoever was behind this had controlled every situation very carefully. It made sense they wouldn't leave anything to chance. They would want to watch the mouse struggle beneath their paws. Someone had baited the trap, this manipulator as he'd begun to call the person in his mind, and he had taken the bait. No, he hadn't taken it yet. He glanced at the open logbook on the table. They wanted him to see this, but him alone. If they'd wanted it to be public knowledge, then it would have been on every news outlet nationwide by now. No, they wanted him to take it. But what if he didn't? What if he didn't spring their trap, but set another trap inside their own? Batman bagged the envelope and its contents, securing it in a belt pouch at his waist. Then he reached over and closed the logbook, adjusting it squarely on the table. He closed his eyes. The room was instantly replaced in his mind with a ghostly, three-dimensional image.
Contrast thermal overlay.
The room in his mind was colored in a spectrum of heat signature. He could see his own footprints, the warming of the book on the desk from his opening it, and the far brighter signatures of his hands and fingers on the book itself.
IR shift.
The cowl heard, and the image in his mind shifted the thermal and light readings into the infrared band. He could see pinpoints of brilliant light in the IR band. Tiny fiber optic cameras, the type often used in medical procedures, had been placed throughout the wrecked office and laboratory beyond. He couldn't see the holding cells from where he stood, but Batman didn't doubt that they were being watched as well. Each had a coupled IR emitter that would enable the cameras to function, with or without the lights on in the room. Batman smiled. Whoever he was fighting wasn't perfect. They were good, but they could make mistakes. He stepped over the broken door of the office, searching about the scattered, smashed remnants of the laboratory. There were several pieces of equipment that still looked serviceable: a microscope, a pair of centrifuges. There was an operatory table with motor drives that appeared functional. Finally, he found what he needed: an infrared spectrometer, still in good condition. Batman smiled. He would have preferred to use his own equipment, but he couldn't risk the time it would take to go to his lair and return. He stooped down and picked up a centrifuge, examining it carefully. He took his time, playing the game. He discarded that and picked up a microscope, examining it with infinite care for several minutes. Patience was part of the illusion. He walked casually toward the spectrometer, saw that the crude emitter was still intact and that the device was still connected to power from the wall. He knelt down next to it and flipped the switch on the emitter. The infrared image went suddenly blank in his mind. He opened his eyes, standing in a rush and moving to the overturned operating table. He pulled his collapsible tool set from his utility belt and started to remove components from the bed, first taking its motors and then stripping the adjusting cables clear. It all took shape in his mind. He loved to work with his hands. A few minutes later, the infrared emitter died. The IR image in Batman's mind cleared, showing him once again to be kneeling in almost the identical position he had been in when he had turned on the emitter in the first place. He continued to play with the instrument for a while, and then moved to another broken piece of equipment.
Hey, Fancy! When are you gonna take me to the dance? I never get asked to the dance!
Batman stood up amid the ruin of the lab.
Right now, Harley. We're going right now.
And just where the hell have you been?
James Gordon stood on the secure receiving dock on the south side of Arkham. It had been placed in an awkward location, like so many things in Arkham, but it was well suited for prisoner transfers. It sat off a narrow alley across from the guards block, with great flying buttresses arching overhead against the wall of the old chapel. The stars could be seen brightly through the band of open sky directly overhead.
Nice to see you too, Commissioner. Sorry I'm late for the party, but I did bring you a present.
Batman pushed forward the still-bound Harley Quinn, who was unusually quiet. Gordon motioned to the 4 armored SWAT police behind him to come forward.
Take her into custody.
Yes, sir.
You told me to meet you here over an hour ago. You made me cool my heels here, along with the high security team all this time. That's not like you.
Batman waited as the guards walked Harley back into the dark maw of Arkham.
I've got to go.
No, just hold on a moment. There's something going down tonight. Harley's just the tip of the iceberg on this.
On what?
Aren't you supposed to tell me? I've got reports from every precinct of vigilante actions going down all over the city. It's like a sudden outbreak of do-it-yourself justice. We found one of Falcone's goons hanging upside down from the West Side Bridge, dropped there by some unknown citizens, a tailor, his son, and 2 businessmen from the Diamond District. The 125th Precinct down on Munch Row had to hold back a mob trying to lynch a mugger, for Pete's sake. And don't try to tell me this is just some random coincidence either, because I know better.
Why? What do you know?
You don't know, do you? Huh. I think I'm gonna just take a moment and savor this.
I don't have time for this, Gordon.
You want to know what I know? I know that all this happened once before, decades back. And if there's something that has to do with taking a shortcut to law in this town, it has to do with you. So, what's going on, Batman? Let me in on the joke.
Your job is to hold them. Mine is to catch them.
Damn it, that's no answer! What are you hiding?
You've got your job to do, but I'm late to do mine.
The ruined, long-forgotten lab was dark and silent once again. The space felt relieved, as though it preferred to be a sealed tomb of dreams and death, hidden from the world. But the world was not yet finished with it. The rusted handles of the great steel doors at the end of the laboratory slowly rotated. Batman quietly watched it all through his closed eyes, as he had for the past 3 hours. The world around him was canted slightly from the angle of the telepresence device he'd left lying atop the debris in the laboratory. It worked on the same principle as his cowl, using sonic imaging, but could transmit remotely over short distances directly into his cowl, thereby allowing him to be in the room while his physical presence was actually a few dozen feet away. Maybe the press would call it the Bat Ghost device, he thought wryly from his perch above the door he had used earlier to enter the room. He dropped the telepresence transmitter just before returning to the spectrograph and switching off the emitter that had masked his movements about the room. Then he had retrieved Harley Quinn, turned her over to Gordon, and returned here as soon as possible. Whoever put the book and envelope in that lab expected them to leave with Batman. If they'd wanted the book public, it would be by now. So that meant they'd come back for it. There were only 2 entrances to the room, and he was over one of them. The other was opening as he watched from his remote device. A figure passed between the steel doors. He sensed the outline, although not the features, through the sonic imager. Whoever had been monitoring the room with the IR cameras had decided to kill those feeds and the emitters as well, so Batman had to rely on the hazier imaging from the sonic system. The figure moved cautiously into the room, picking its way through the darkness. It hesitated for a moment, then proceeded toward the broken door of the office. It appeared to be holding something in its hand. Batman switched off the link to the ghost, his own immediate surroundings coming to him. He slid from his perch, opened the laboratory door without a sound, and slipped inside. The silhouette had a flashlight, its circular beam shifting across the fallen office door. The figure swung around, but it was too late. The tripwire had already done its job, keying the electric motors that had been liberated from the operatory table. The great steel doors swung closed.
You wanted to see me?
The figure spun around in a panic, the flashlight shaking with fear.
No, wait! You don't understand. Let me explain.
She tripped, falling backward into the debris. The beam of the flashlight was now canted across the woman's suddenly recognizable face. He caught himself, ever mindful of the many different faces he was required to wear, remembering from moment to moment which of them he presently was.
Who are you?
Dr. Doppel. Nurse Doppel.
Why are you here?
I work here. I used to work here.
Batman curled his left-gloved hand around the back of her neck, pulling her face closer to his own.
Why are you here?
I came for a book.
This book?
Batman held up the stained old-style composition book with his right hand.
Yes, maybe. It looks like the one she described.
Who? Who described it?
Amanda Richter. She told me to come here and get this book. She called me. I didn't know she'd left the house. I don't know how long she might have been gone. She said I'd never find her again if I didn't.
If you didn't what?
If I didn't follow her instructions and retrieve this book out of Arkham. She said I wasn't to call the police, that everything would be all right if I would just come here, get that book off of the desk in her father's old research laboratory, and bring it to an address in Midtown.
What address?
Please, I just want to...
What address?
15427 7 Moldorf Avenue.
How did you know about this place?
I didn't. Amanda told me where the outside doors were located and how to get through them. I worked for years in this facility and never knew this was down here. Look, I'm just trying to find the woman I mentioned, Amanda Richter. She's a severely disturbed individual, and I think she's being manipulated into doing things against her will.
She's not the only one. I intend to find out who this manipulator is. And you are going to deliver this book.
Utility Tunnel 57D, Gotham, 9:17 p.m., present day. Batman climbed into the pilot seat of the Batmobile and powered it up.
Amanda Richter. There are no coincidences.
He pulled out the envelope and letter he had recovered and bagged earlier. There would be chemical testing on it later, but for now, the contents were what interested him. He switched on a map light overhead, which he never used for maps, and pulled out the letter.
My father was a saint. My father was the perfect man.
He wondered if any of it could be true. His father using the wealth and power of Wayne Enterprises to finance eugenics research? The idea was beyond belief.
My father was
It was not until this moment that Bruce Wayne realized he really knew nothing of his father, beyond the belief that he was a noble and good man who had died senselessly in the arms of his son. Thomas and Martha Wayne had always been marble statues, the ideal of perfection, and the paragon of all virtues. Yet now he was being confronted by the stark reality of their past, which in that moment he was loath to know. He scanned over the sections he had read so quickly in the laboratory, his father's discovery of Richter in the lab, and his calling in Jarvis to help. Something caught his eye.
I did not know what else to do except follow Jarvis's advice. There was an item the next day in the Gotham Gazette about Dr. Richter's death, short and below the fold, describing how he had died as the result of an accident in the secure wing of Arkham Asylum, but nothing else. I was left alone to carry the guilty knowledge that he had died as a result of our behavioral modification studies. And it was with terrible irony that our work began to bear fruit. The 4 subjects of our experiments had escaped into the city, and soon the papers were filled with reports of criminals and underworld mobsters being suddenly dealt with in ways that had the criminal elements in the city afraid for the first time in a long while. I began to have hope that the terrible sacrifice of Dr. Richter might actually achieve the dream of a crime-free Gotham that we had labored with such diligence to create. The papers and television began calling our 4 escaped subjects the Apocalypse, a reference no doubt to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but I believe they took this appellation from the criminals who had been confronted by them in the streets.
Kronos, news search, circa 1958, Gotham, Apocalypse.
The display opened to his right in midair. Much to his dismay, the first item coming up was from Wikipedia.
Read to me.
Apocalypse. This article is about Gotham history. For specific apocalypses, see Apocalypse, disambiguation. The Apocalypse were 4 vigilantes who waged a war on criminal and mafia groups in Gotham City beginning in mid-1958 through winter of 1968. Initially heralded as heroes by both the public and the press, they soon proved themselves violent and extreme in punishments, and unstable in their narrow interpretation of what constituted a crime. Primary participants. There were 4 members of the Apocalypse, known by 4 sensational names given to them by the popular press. They had notorious criminal backgrounds and used their knowledge of crime against their targets during their vigilante spree. Their actual identities were not initially known, but they were subsequently identified. Fate. Caprice Atropos, formerly a cat burglar and murderess with alleged ties to the Moxon crime family. Fate was recognizable by her slender build and long, light blonde hair. She wore a black mask and a black knit bodysuit with fitted black gloves and special-soled black suede boots. The only 2 victims who escaped death at her hands reported that they only saw her hair as she attacked. She often traversed rooftops and scaled walls, and could circumvent any lock in her pursuit of her victims. She largely pursued criminals engaged in extortion, bribery, and theft. Reaper. Michael the Scythe Smalls had been a professional contract killer for the Rossetti mob. Reaper was a tall man with a narrow build that belied his unusual strength and agility. Like Fate, he was known for stalking his victims and was always seen wearing black. In his case, a dark hooded cloak. His weapons of choice were all blade-edged weapons, including scythes, and dismemberment was a signature of his attacks. Several reports claimed he flew down on his victims like a bird of prey. Needs citation. He often targeted bullies, murderers, hitmen, and authority figures. Chanteuse. Adele LaFontaine, known formerly as the Black Widow of Robinson Park, was the most subtle member of the Apocalypse. She had long, raven black hair and, regardless of whatever else she wore, was always seen in a military green wool greatcoat. The sole surviving victim of one of her attacks claimed he heard the pleading voice of his sister calling for his help just before Chanteuse attempted to cut his throat. Many others who found themselves in her vicinity reported having heard voices of recognized associates calling to them and having felt compelled to respond. Her victims were primarily pedophiles, prostitutes, and drug traffickers, although she later expanded to include banking executives, stockbrokers, lawyers, and judges. Disciple. Denholm Sinclair, an embezzler implicated in the Kane Orphanage fire. While pictures of Sinclair abound prior to his initial arrest, afterward, no consistent description was given by any surviving victims or witnesses. All accounts agreed he had tremendous physical strength and fanatical determination in pursuit of his prey. Many reports claimed he wore disguises so as to strike his victims from close range while they were unaware. Disciple was noted not only for killing his victims, but also for doing so in such a manner as to humiliate them in death. His primary targets appeared to be mobsters, racketeers, and city officials he deemed corrupt. All four had been committed to Arkham Asylum prior to their escape and subsequent coordinated efforts. While rumors have persisted of additional members belonging to this group, no substantial evidence has been offered to confirm any additional individuals associated with these four. History. While the newspapers did not apply the moniker The Apocalypse until Sunday, May 18, 1958, Gotham Gazette, the first incident involving the apocalypse has been traced to Saturday, April 5, 1958, when Mr. Joseph, the Irish, Donahoe was discovered dead, hanging upside down from the West Side Bridge with the word Mob Fixer pinned to the back of his shirt. Donahoe was a known associate of the Julius Moxon mob at the time. The following Tuesday, the 8th, 3 Rossetti gangsters, James Jimmy Noonan, Maurice Mort Arbuckle, and Percival the Purse Fernandez were pulled out of the Gotham River in a car belonging to mobster Cesar Rossetti, each with the word thug carved into his forehead. The following day, Anthony Tony Falcone, a nephew of Brutus Falcone, who had tried to bring his operation into Gotham from Chicago earlier that spring, was found hung from a lamppost on Montreux with the word racketeer pinned to his chest.
Stop.
Batman stared at the display for a moment.
Kronos, correlate police records circa 1958 and Apocalypse to police records this month. Display data.
There was a momentary pause before the cascade of data began.
Damn, we're being haunted.
Every Apocalypse incident from 1958 was being reenacted throughout Gotham in the present.
Kronos, AutoNav 15247, Moldorf Avenue.
Destination set.
The three-dimensional map of Gotham erupted in a colorful display floating before him, the surface streets appearing closer than the subsurface routes he would be taking.
Confirm.
Batman knew the destination well. He'd known the address the moment Nurse Doppel had uttered it.
Confirmed. Move out.
The vehicle moved from its hidden cove and began its headlong rush beneath the streets of Gotham, southward beneath the Schwartz Bypass and under the streets of Coventry. The East Side district would soon follow. Amanda had asked her nurse to deliver the incriminating book to a house that Bruce Wayne had often visited as a boy. His mother had brought him to play with the little girl who lived there. That girl had grown into the last woman he now expected ever to see again. It was the home address of Mallory Moxon and her crippled father, Louis. Watching Ellen Doppel from the stairwell of the corner brownstone townhouse as she walked down the darkened street, Bruce Wayne again considered his options. Moldorf Avenue was in a quiet upscale area called the Upper East Side. Some of the trees lining the wide street were almost 100 years old. The Moxon muscle enforcing the peace was subtle but all too evident to Wayne's trained eye, even in the darkness. There were 3 broad-shouldered men near the entrance of 15247, 2 polos and a turtleneck, all of which were covered with loose windbreakers that barely warranted the concealed weapons permits each had been issued. 2 more goons lounged across the street, one on the white stone steps to a townhouse and the other leaning not too heavily against one of the trees. There were more at the far end of the block. He looked up. Batman always looked up. There were more of them poking their heads above or leaning over the low crenellation running along the top of the townhouses. They were trying hard not to disturb the illusion of tranquility below them, but to Bruce the atmosphere was charged with a feeling of a sleeping hornet's nest. Under other circumstances, wrapped in his cowl and cape, he would have enjoyed kicking over the hornet's nest, but fists and fear wouldn't get him what he wanted tonight. What was needed was Bruce Wayne. He waited in stillness as Nurse Doppel walked stiffly down the street, the bound book gripped tightly to her chest. He would have to wait until Doppel left before he could move. It wouldn't do to have Mr. Grayson appear unexpectedly, especially for what he had in mind. As he knew they would, Turtleneck and the 2 polo boys watched her carefully as she climbed the steps to the front door. She pushed the buzzer and then spoke something into the intercom. She stood waiting on the stoop for less than a minute before the door opened. They hadn't met in person in more than 2 decades, but Bruce still knew the shape of the face and the set of her eyes. Even cut short, there was no mistaking the rust-red hair or her strong shoulders. Mallory Moxon had answered the door. Bruce watched as Mallory took the book from Nurse Doppel. They exchanged a few words on the porch, with the nurse looking more panicked by the moment. Bruce could see the 3 musclemen at the curb standing a little taller as they watched, their hands reaching automatically inside their jackets. However, in a moment, Mallory nodded and closed the door, leaving Nurse Doppel to walk back down the steps with her shoulders slumped forward and without the book. Bruce waited until Doppel turned the corner and then gave one last check of the position of the guards, making sure his appearance on the street wouldn't startle any of them. When he was satisfied, he stepped up out of the stairwell and onto the sidewalk. It was getting chill in the evening, and he almost wished he had the batsuit on just for the warmth. It wasn't just the chill, he smiled to himself. He was completely aware of the turtleneck and his 2 pals as he passed them and mounted the stairs, but he studiously gave no indication of even acknowledging their existence.
Who is it?
Definitely not Mallory's voice.
Barabbas. Tell Mallory Barabbas wants to see her.
More than a minute passed. Bruce was aware of the 3 men moving listlessly behind him near the curb, but remained standing on the stone stairs facing the closed door.
Who is this?
Come on, Malice. It's Barabbas. It's cold out here, and I need to come in.
Getting in was easy. It was getting out that was going to be hard. On the 2nd floor, Bruce settled back into the overstuffed chair.
It's been too long, Mallory.
The leather chair was uncomfortable. He felt as though he were going to slide out of it at any moment. The desk was a heavy hardwood, stained to complement the dark wood paneling of the library. The surface of the desk was cluttered with papers, but Bruce could easily make out the book Ellen Doppel had just dropped off, sitting in a cleared space in the center.
It's been 15 years too long, but who's counting?
Mallory sat on the edge of the desk, her arms folded across her chest. She wore jeans and a scoop-neck sweater that fell slightly off her left shoulder. Her feet were bare and her short hair had been quickly brushed out. There was a hint of makeup about her eyes, above her prominent cheekbones, and a touch of rouge on her pouting lips. She slipped down from the desk to stand in front of it.
Can I get you a drink? Scotch and soda, I think, was always your first choice.
She casually pushed the wrapped book behind her, out of sight.
No, thank you, Mal. That's not why I've come.
Indeed.
She leaned back against the desk, a smile playing on her lips.
Don't tell me that Gotham's most reclusive son has come to pick up where we left off.
Mallory, please. I just need your help.
Oh, yeah? Well, for that, you can go help yourself. Or I'm sure your butler would be happy to call any of a number of services.
Not that kind of help.
Oh.
I've got trouble with the SEC.
It was a story, a tale full of just enough truth to make it palatable. The question for Bruce was whether the book he had just seen delivered was enough to make her believe his lie.
After the subprime scandal, they're smelling blood in the water. They're even saying they may go after us under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act.
Rico? Now that's ironic, Bruce. Even you have to admit that's funny.
They're serious, Mal. It could force a breakup. It could mean the end of Wayne Enterprises worldwide.
You want me to do something about the SEC? I think I could arrange that.
No, Mal. That's not why I'm here.
It would be expensive, but given your revenues worldwide, it would give you a good return as an investment.
No, Mal. I don't need any fix put in at the SEC.
Oh, you always talked a good game. But underneath you were such a Boy Scout, Bruce. I knew it when we met up at the Duloc resorts when we were kids. It was a good thing Mama was on your side. Papa couldn't stand the sight of you. So, what do you want?
I want to talk to your father.
You can't be serious.
Bruce knew the Moxon house occupied what looked from the outside to be 6 separate townhomes. It was effectively a mansion in the middle of the city. Moreover, the Moxons controlled all of the surrounding blocks. Bruce had walked into the center of the Moxon criminal organization, a hidden fortress in the center of the city. But there were answers he had to have from Lou Moxon, and Mallory was the key to getting them.
Someone has been sending me old things, diaries, books, letters. They don't make much sense to me, but they're about dealings my father had with your father. I'm trying to keep a lid on them. If the SEC gets hold of them, it could be bad for both of our families.
You've got these diaries? You have the tapes?
Tapes? Bruce had no idea what she was talking about.
Not yet, but I think I can get them.
Well, that should be something of a relief.
She was nervous, making mistakes. That wasn't like any Moxon, especially Mallory. She was anxious about his being here. He needed to keep her talking.
It would be if I could just keep the Attorney General off my back until they're safe. What have you heard about this business, Mallory? You know me, I'm not all that up to speed on...
Hold that thought, Bruce. I've got to take this. Yes?
She turned her face away from Bruce.
Yes, it's here. She left it about 10 minutes ago. What? Look, I've done what you asked and I've gotten what you wanted. You can pick it up at 11 tonight and then we're finished. You understand? Don't ever call this number again.
Her hand shook slightly as she hung up. Bruce watched her carefully as he spoke.
Mallory, it's no big deal. I just need to ask your father about something called the apocalypse.
That is one word you are never to use in front of my father.
125th Avenue and Broad Street, Gotham, 9:37 a.m., October 17th, 1958. Thomas hadn't chosen the place. The Brass Ring Diner was reasonably clean for a dive on the edge of the theater district. It was on Broad Street, after all, and did look out on the oddly named Diamond Square, the heart of Gotham's nightlife. But as he sat in the booth, Thomas could almost smell the decay with the rising sun. Theater had been big in Gotham during the early part of the century, rivaling New York for the big first-run shows. But that was before 2 world wars in Korea. Now it was movies, or increasingly television, taking over the attention of the public. It seemed to bleed the life out of the theaters, and the entire district had a gritty, run-down feeling to it. It was Lou Moxon's idea that they meet here over breakfast. It was on the way for Thomas as he crossed the Robert Kane Memorial Bridge from the mansion in Bristol while traveling toward his continuing residency at the University Hospital. He was not doing rounds for another hour and a half, so it seemed as good a place to meet as any. Thomas leaned back into the corner of the vinyl booth. He opened the newspaper to page 1. He'd already seen the headline and was dreading the article. He forced himself to read. Apocalypse murders in financial district. 3 bank managers killed for alleged mob ties. Gotham City. Managers of 3 banking institutions were found murdered in their offices last night. And the latest in a series of assassinations by a gang of vigilantes styling themselves as the Apocalypse. The victims appear to have been targeted due to their alleged connections with the Rossetti, Moxon, and smaller Falcone mobs. Each died through extraordinary means, according to sources inside the investigation. Dead are Marvin J. Collings, manager of the Gotham First Federal Savings, residing in Bristol; Jerome P. Montague, manager of the Bank of Gotham, residing in Coventry; and Lawrence N. Marconi, president of Bristol Bank, also residing in Bristol. According to unnamed sources inside the police department, all 3 murders took place at approximately the same time, 11:11 p.m. Mr. Collings was found bound to his office chair, suffocated by a tightly rolled stack of $100 bills and other currency pressed into his mouth. Mr. Montague was discovered by Leonard Murphy, night watchman of the Bank of Gotham, with his throat cut. Mr. Marconi's headless body was discovered at his desk by the cleaning woman. A search for the head is currently in progress. The police are pursuing several clues, including a report of a blonde woman briefly seen fleeing the rooftop of the Bank of Gotham at that approximate time, and a tarot card found clutched in Mr. Montague's hand. No arrests have been made. The 3 deaths are the latest in a series of high-profile murders of alleged criminals throughout the city. According to Police Commissioner Gillian B. Loeb, these murders are increasing in frequency and targeting subjects accused of less serious criminal offenses. The first killings by the Apocalypse took place in April, when Joseph the Irish Donahoe was discovered hanging upside down from the West Side Bridge. Since that time, 15 additional deaths have been investigated as being associated with the Apocalypse. Concurrent with the vigilante action and discounting the deaths attributed to the Apocalypse, the crime rate in Gotham has fallen by 69.5%. When asked whether the drop in crime could be attributed to the actions of the Apocalypse, Commissioner Loeb responded, "Where do these monsters stop? How will the public feel about them when they start killing jaywalkers?"
I did this.
He had wanted to cure crime, and now the cure was worse than the disease. Jarvis did his job well, perhaps too well. It had been months since Richter died, and no one had said a thing. Crime was dropping. Didn't they try to cure cancer by killing it? And now Richter's virus was out there in the world, killing crime one life at a time.
How can I live with that kind of cure?
Hey, Dr. Wayne! Hey, thanks for coming. Crazy news in the papers, huh? Everybody in the family is sweating bullets. I can't tell these days whether my old man is spitting nails or just ready to piss himself.
Julius isn't taking all this apocalypse nonsense seriously, is he?
Wayne pushed the newspaper down next to him in the booth.
Serious? I'll tell you how serious he is. Last night between drinks, he told me at this rate, my coffee clutch may be the only family business still running by the end of the year. Can you beat that? The old man's seeing red. He thinks Rossetti's behind it, but Rossetti's sweating in his socks just as bad and points the finger at that punk greaser Falcone. But Falcone hasn't got a clue either. They're gonna start doing the DA a favor pretty soon and start plugging each other if these apocalypse clowns aren't put down.
Sounds like a gang war. Do you think it's gonna come to that?
Nah. My old man says one way or the other, he's gonna put these clowns down permanently. But you didn't hear it from me. Now all that is good news for both of us, Thomas.
Good news? How?
The families in this town have never been weaker. I make my break now, it makes sense to everybody, and I don't get hurt. So, you got my financials and you know the place. How about it, Wayne? Can you and me be partners?
I'm gonna help you, Lou, but you have to keep your nose clean.
No sweat, Dr. Wayne.
I mean it, Lou. You can't be involved in anything, or I'll never be able to get approval from the board. You understand?
Absolutely, Wayne.
Moxon reached across the table, nearly crushing Thomas's hand with his grip.
Hey, I'll be clean as a driven snow. Just you wait and see. The only one around here looking at an apocalypse is my old man.
Look, Mal, I'm in the dark here about what's going on.
It was that old goon Salvatore who tipped you, wasn't it?
Mallory snatched the wrapped book from the desk.
That son of a bitch was there that night and he decided he could tap you for a few grand, didn't he?
Salvatore? Arnold Salvatore worked the Robbinsville and East Side rackets under Julius in the 60s, but he was Moxon's muscle before his promotion. And just what night was Mallory talking about?
No, Mal, nobody tipped me. I just came here because I thought you might help an old friend. I'm up to my ass in federal alligators, and all you want to do is toss crocodiles at me.
Mallory stared at him for a moment.
Well, no matter how it works out, it would be fun to watch. Sorry, Barabbas. It's an old wound, and a deep one. I can't tell you anything about this apocalypse, and seriously, there's no way I'll let anyone bring that up in front of Father.
That's all right, Mal. It was a long shot anyway.
I still think I can help with that SEC nuisance. I own a guy or two down there who could probably make this go away.
Great. Thanks, Mal.
Mallory looked at Bruce's extended hand for a moment with a wry smile, shaking her head slightly before she reached forward and took it.
You're welcome, Barabbas.
Say, Mallory, why did you start calling me Barabbas?
I didn't.
She flipped her head so that her bangs fell away from her eyes, a move that Bruce found familiar and comforting.
He used to call you all kinds of nicknames. Bwain, Wayno, Beeswax, and as I recall, one especially difficult summer, Coxon.
So, where did Barabbas come from?
That was Father.
Mallory stepped toward the door with the wrapped book in her hand, held with studied casualness.
He used to call you that all the time.
All the time?
Well, no. I guess it was after your parents died. Look, I'm sorry, but I've got a lot to do today. Do you mind?
Here's your hat and what's your hurry, huh?
But it was good seeing you again, Bruce. I'm glad you haven't turned into the horror show picture the papers keep printing of you.
Not yet. You go ahead, Mallory. I'll let myself out.
She flashed her smile once more. It was gone. Bruce turned at once to the phone on the desk, pulling a cloth out of his pocket. With an eye on the door, he punched the callback button.
Good evening, Wayne Manor.
Bruce stared at the phone for a moment.
May I help you?
Yes. This is Bruce. I'm in the city.
Indeed, Master Bruce. So you informed me earlier, sir.
The caller ID. Alfred knew exactly where he was.
Right. Well, I'm going to be longer than I thought. I found a lead here at Moxon's that's going to require some surveillance in Lower Gotham. I won't be home until around 1 in the morning. Don't wait up for me.
As you wish, Master Bruce. I shall leave the lights on for you.
Thank you, Alfred.
Utility tunnel system, Gotham, 9:58 p.m., present day. Barabbas. According to tradition, he was the criminal who was set free so that Jesus would be crucified. Why would Julius Moxon insist on calling Bruce by that name? Bruce moved quickly down through the access tunnel, pushed through the hidden panel in a tiled sidewall, and entered the abandoned subway tunnel. He hurried over the gravel between the old ties toward the concealed maintenance siding where he had secured the Batmobile. He had told Alfred he would not be home before 1 in the morning, but someone at Wayne Manor had made arrangements to meet Mallory about the book at 10 that evening. Alfred had answered the call back, and now Bruce was determined to return to the manor in time to join that little party. Alfred was certainly mixed up in this twisted business. It was not until this moment that Bruce considered it quite possible that Alfred was behind all of it.
Keep your friends close, and your enemies even closer.
Bruce's call had an unplanned-for benefit. It would force Alfred to act. Now, if he moved quickly enough, he could expose Alfred and get to the bottom of his father's past. Bruce rounded the corner and stopped.
What?
Astonished even as he instinctively ducked into the shadows.
Take it easy.
A large group of traffic policemen were helping winch the Batmobile up onto a flatbed rail car attached to an electric service engine. He was being towed? Bruce considered his options as he stood with his back against the abandoned subway wall, hidden for the time being in the shadows behind a supporting arch. The vehicle looked intact and secure. There would have been a rather large crater under Gotham had the security somehow been breached, but the question remained in his mind how they had found it in the first place. Bruce crouched down, carefully looking around the corner once more. The uniforms were definitely those of the Gotham Traffic Police. The authenticity, however, was spoiled by the latex clown masks each of them wore.
What does he want done with it?
We're supposed to get it out of here before he comes back and take it down to 61.
What if we don't?
You really want to risk that? Come on, tie that down good and tight. You want to scratch the paint?
Do you think I really can, Joey?
Bruce looked around him for something, anything he might use. When he saw it, he smiled.
Hey, Joey, what's that?
One of the clown police looked away from the flatbed rail car. They had almost wrapped up the Batman's car. A couple more minutes and the thing would be ready to bring back to the boss with a ribbon on it.
What's what?
I hear something down the tunnel. What is it?
The Joey clown raised his head. The mask bothered him, but you wore the face the boss told you to wear. You could end up not wearing any face at all.
I don't hear nothing, Saul.
Just listen, man, I'm telling you.
Joey Clown stepped back around the flatbed toward the entrance to the maintenance siding. The old subway ran into the black in both directions.
Ah, geez, Saul, it's just some water running. We've been living in these tunnels for like a year and you ain't heard water before? What the?
His weapon held ready in front of him by his right hand, Joey Clown fumbled to pull the flashlight off the duty belt with his other. The beam of light flashed down the dark tunnel as he stepped cautiously forward.
Ah, you gotta be kidding me.
The beam came to rest on a water tap protruding from the tunnel wall. Water streamed out of it, splashing onto the gravel beneath it.
I got it. Nothing here. What the hell?
He turned quickly, the beam of his flashlight falling back at once on the water tap. No water was coming out, but he could hear the sound somewhere further down the tunnel. The sound made him more anxious by the moment. Nature began to call to him. Joey Clown peered down the shifting beam of light, but as much as he tried, he couldn't discover the source of the sound, a sound that was calling to his bladder with rising urgency. The sound stopped again, but the urgency remained. Joey Clown waited as long as he could manage, judging the sound to be just another leaking pipe among a million others. As for himself, he was in urgent need of relief. The tunnel was dark.
Good a place as any.
He headed to the near wall.
Sorry, Joey.
Hey, Joey, what took you so long?
Joey Clown just shrugged.
Well, thanks for nothing. While you've been chasing boogeymen, we got the job done.
Hey, can we get out of here now before the bat shows up?
Joey Clown climbed up into the flatbed.
Yeah, let's ride with it. You don't think the boss will mind? With the bat car? He'll be glad to see us.
Bruce sweated under the latex mask. The clothes had been a close enough fit, and as long as he slumped slightly and didn't talk too much, he could manage a fair impression of Joey. The flatbed pushed along through the old subway tunnel. Bruce knew the subway system well, but there were parts of it that had escaped mapping. During World War II, there were a number of tunnels built by the War Department that were never cataloged. Bruce had heard stories of Platform 61, a special underground siding that allowed President Roosevelt unheralded access to the city. There was an identical platform in New York, but its location remained a secret in both cities. And now, if these goons were to be believed, they were headed off the official map of Gotham's underground. He thought they might be somewhere under Old Gotham, on a sub-level never used anymore. They might be near Central Station, perhaps under it for all he knew, and in the light of the switcher engine pushing the flatbed railcar down the old track, the walls of the tunnel were growing increasingly bizarre. Enormous cutouts from amusement parks began to decorate the walls, each one only partial and cut up into individual features: ears, eyes, gaping mouths, and even then never whole, never complete. They were random hieroglyphs that promised and tantalized with a hope of meaning and remained elusive. Brilliant light spilled into the tunnel as they rounded a turn from an archway ahead of them. The railcar holding the Batmobile slid to a halt at a platform next to an enormous vaulted room nearly 3 stories tall. Enormous dynamos stood in rows across the floor, coupled to engines over a half-century old. At the far end of the mechanical space, a metal staircase rose to a second level of walkway that ran around the perimeter of the square room. All about the main floor of the room and lining the walkway above stood clowns in similar dress and masks. One man stood on an elaborate throne at the top of the metal stairs. His grease paint was smeared and the makeup uneven, but his wild hair was pulled uncharacteristically back and bound behind his head. The lines on his face had always been hideous, but now they sagged with age, the skin beneath his chin loose and waddle-like. The suit was the same stained purple, and he held an enormous Magnum revolver in his right hand. But it was the eyes, the terrible eyes, that confirmed to Bruce it could only be one man.
That's right, children. They stole it all from you for your own good. What a bedtime story. Rob from the poor and give to the rich because they know what to do with it. We've never had any money. Better let those who've handled it before take care of it before we do something useful with it. But I've got a better idea, kiddies. I say we take it back. Take from the rich and give to ourselves. And when I'm elected, any minute now by my watch, that's exactly what we're going to do. And so, it is with deepest humility and a sense of awe-inspiring hollow promises that I announce my unopposed candidacy for Emperor of the United States of America. Wait! No need to panic. He was a terrorist. He's dead, so he must be a terrorist. He infiltrated our safe and secure home, and now you see I've made you all safe from him once more. Bad terrorist. We have to stop them. We have to stop them from making us do what we don't want to do.
Making us do what we don't want to do? What was he saying? Joker slumped onto his throne.
We just want to be free. And making us do what they want. And we want to be free, damn it!
The clown police looked at each other uneasily as Joker sat unmoving upon the throne.
Press conference. Ahem. The press pool will assemble here before the throne, and we will magnanimously answer your questions about our new domestic policy of 120% flat tax on everyone who has more money than we do, as well as my ever-popular find the bastard who did this to me and kill him security policy. Well, questions, people? I need questions!
Sir?
Muscle Clown was standing next to Bruce on the rail car.
What do you want us to do?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. Actually, no one's ever glad they're asked such a question, but that's what people who rule things always say, don't they? But in your case, because we're all men of action, damn the torpedoes and into the valley of death, I will answer that question.
The clown police listened very carefully. Joker leaned forward.
We are going to... Wait!
Wait?
That's right! You win the prize, Bongo! We're going to sit on our fat asses. Oh, pardon me, your fat ass, because It's a brand new car! That's right, Bungle! It's a brand new Batmobile with bucket seats, fine Corinthian leather, CD radio, 8-track player, and more armament than any third world country you could spell. And as long as we hold the pink slip to this lovely prize, the Bat has his wings clipped here in the city. He's not going to call a cab because with all those wonderful toys on his belt, he never thought to carry a wallet. He can't hitchhike because, well, just look at the freakish way he dresses. His pal Gordon is under glass, and it's too far for him to walk in time, so he will miss his date at the ball, and I'll be free. Ugh, I can't stand these thoughts. These poisonous, organized thoughts. What a neat little rose full of purpose and meaning. Oh, I want them out of my head. I want myself back. He'll come. He'll come for his car, because he won't want to report it stolen, or his insurance premiums will go up. But mostly he'll come because it's his, and he wouldn't let me have it. We're old friends, you know, and getting older by the minute. And when he arrives, we have to throw him a party and keep him here until morning, so that those terrible, orderly, reasonable voices they put in my head cannot have him. Then I'll be free of purpose again. Then I'll be myself.
He suddenly smiled, his horrific face rising up as those eyes burned bright again.
Hello? I think our guest may have already arrived, unannounced.
Joker descended the metal stairs.
Come out, wherever you are, and meet the young Batman who gave me this scar.
Bruce stood still with the other clown police on the flatbed rail car next to the Batmobile. The latex clown mask clung to the sweating skin on his face. Salvation was tantalizingly close. The Batmobile lay under his fingertips, but the security access panel, hidden within the malleable skin of the vehicle, was just out of his reach to the right. He would have to locate the panel, key the access sequence, and dive through the hatch before the Joker's clown police could stop him. He couldn't manage it without attracting attention from the Joker and his century of armed thugs. He could deal with a Joker, but not as Bruce Wayne. Not with only this flimsy mask.
He fell from afar to give me this scar, and Batman, he says, wants to repo this car. Batman, he says, has a fetish bizarre.
Bruce glanced at Muscle Clown on his left. His stance was casual. The timing would have to be right, and time was the issue. He was desperate to get back to the mansion, and every moment he remained here meant giving Alfred, or whoever was involved, more time to cover his tracks. Bruce slowly shifted his weight to his right foot.
You see, it's really quite simple. There are 115 of the finest Gotham police uniforms money could buy in the room, but there are only 114 ID transponders. Now, if I were balancing my checkbook, I might be tempted to just ignore minor discrepancies. But I'm trying to run a business here! And what I know, I know you won't appreciate the gesture. I'm trying to actually preserve our bed-obsessed friend from doing himself and me terrible harm. So, I say it's time for a little honesty between friends. I say we should all be special today. Now that the gang's all here, I say we should end the charade, take off our masks, and let our mystery guests sign in, please.
Bruce wore the mask to terrify others. How strange that a lack of a mask should terrify him. Bracing his hands against the Batmobile, Bruce turned to the Muscle Clown on his left and gave him a quick kick to the back of his knee. The thug's leg folded forward, tipping him off balance. He tumbled off the edge of the flatbed, falling flat on his back between the tracks and the wall of the tunnel. As most of the clown police in the room drew their weapons, the Joker leapt forward.
Don't kill him! That's my job! Get out of my way!
One of the clown police didn't get out of the way fast enough.
Fair warning!
No!
Several clown police who had stood near him on the rail car had Muscle Clown pinned to the ground. With the distraction complete, Bruce slipped slightly to his right, brushed his hand over the hatch pad, and quickly keyed the sequence.
Hold him steady!
Joker jumped down to the tracks.
It's time we had a nice face-to-face chat.
He knelt down and ripped the mask off the Muscle Clown.
It's not me, boss! I mean, it is me! I mean...
What's this?
The Joker turned to see a gold-winged door open between the binding chains over the Batmobile and one of his clown police diving through the opening.
Oh, how I love initiative!
The gold door slammed shut, sealing seamlessly into the gleaming body.
New game! New game! Kick the can! I'll provide the kick, and Batman is in the can!
How do we get him out, boss?
Out? I don't want him out. I want his sperm to stay in that can. I want him to sit in his toy car until the party is completely over!
The chains across the Batmobile grew more taut. Joker raised his eyebrows. Bruce tore off the clown mask, throwing it forcefully over the back of the command seat to the passenger compartment behind. He was sprawled awkwardly in the space, having jumped headfirst into the cockpit while calling for the hatch to secure. He knew that the reactive armor of the vehicle had passive qualities, but he wondered why he couldn't hear the sound of projectiles striking the body. He tried to right himself, but realized he had left the batsuit he had shed earlier draped over the seat he was now trying to sit on. It shifted under him, bunching up in places, and the utility belt was making it impossible for him to sit properly in the space.
What else can go wrong? Kronos, activate!
The security system didn't answer. The batsuit was present in the vehicle, a required security precaution, but since he wasn't in the suit, the biometrics were not registering him properly.
Kronos, activate!
Activated. Systems online. Main bus charge level 69%.
The sound was coming from beneath him.
The cowl! The sound is routed through the cowl. Kronos, audio to panel and exterior view to panel.
The eye-level displays lit up instantly. The displays would all be two-dimensional without the cowl, and he'd have limited tactical awareness. The Batmobile was chained down to the rail car, so the drive wheels would be useless, and time was slipping away. On the display, Bruce could see the clown police milling about the car with their weapons drawn, but none of them firing. The Joker stood next to the rails, pointing up at him and doing a little dance.
I've got to get out of here. I've got to know who's behind all this.
He pulled at the safety restraints. He managed to find and straighten them out, though each needed adjustment to fit him without the bulk of his batsuit, which still sat under him.
Kronos, increase physical profile 25%.
The vehicle responded. The exterior shell of the car, charged with electric current, pushed outward, inflating its size against the restraining chains, which strained under the pressure, but held strong.
External resistance approaching stress limits. Fuel stable at 86%. Power reserves dropping to 53%.
Kronos, reset physical profile.
Did you ever wonder how long a bat will keep?
The Joker had his gun arm draped over the nervous clown's shoulder.
I mean, without refrigeration. Normally, I would never advocate leaving a bat inside a car, say, on a hot day while going into a grocery store or embarking on a protracted cruise. However, we have an opportunity now to...
Short gouts of flame exploded from ports, suddenly appearing in the car's body.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Was that me?
4 columns of flame and smoke erupted from the back of the chained-down Batmobile, their exhaust merging into one. The rail car started to roll down the track.
No! You'll ruin everything!
The rail car and its chained, raging cargo picked up speed as it vanished into the subway tunnel beneath the city.
Stop him, you morons! Arrest him! What's happened to law and order in this city? Bring him back!
The clown police were galvanized into action. Those left standing on the tracks rushed down a maintenance side tunnel. They soon reappeared in pairs astride all-terrain vehicles, their drivers hunched down over the handlebars while their passengers were readying weapons ranging from assault rifles to rocket-propelled grenades. They plunged into pursuit of the rocketing rail car, following the smoke trail into the subway tunnel. The Joker clambered quickly back onto Platform 61, smoke from the rocket engine still choking the room.
Well, this might have gone better.
He climbed back up the stairs to his throne.
But you know, whenever I get discouraged or think life is getting me down, there's one thing that always cheers me up.
He picked up a laptop. An Ethernet cable connected it into a port on one of the routers, rack-mounted in a stack on the wall. He opened the laptop, and the screen sprang to life, displaying Gotham Transit Authority rail service.
I relax by playing with my trains.